What is a disturbing fact you wish you never knew? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Thanks. Story 1. I remember watching an episode of the show *Monsters Inside Me* where this 16-year-old kid was doing something outside and a fly flew into his eye. It only made contact for about a microsecond, but it was enough time for it to lay eggs. After they hatched, they started eating his eye from the inside, and he was starting to go blind until a doctor finally figured out what was wrong. Just imagine that, getting your eye eaten from the inside and losing your sight all because a fly briefly made contact with you. Ever since I learned about this, I get really paranoid when there is a fly around my face because of the fact that this could possibly happen to me. Story 3. That babies didn't receive any anesthesia, even for open heart surgeries, etc., until the late 1980s. Story 4. We are possibly on the brink of medical technology and treatments losing 100 years of progress because new strains of bacteria are becoming antibiotic resistant, and finding new antibiotics is a slow process far outpaced by the amount of resistant bacteria. Imagine getting a minor cut on your hand and dying from it. Added benefit: our own immune systems have also taken a hit as well because our overuse of antibiotics has killed a lot of the good bacteria in our bodies that works with our immune system. Story 6.93% of human history is not recorded. Story 7. I recently finished a book about World War II in China. So I want to say everything about the rape of Nanjing. Women being raped in puddles of their own shit. Little girls being gang raped. Men being used for bayonet and target practice. Men being half decapitated, using a samurai sword to slice half their head off. Women being raped with lengths of bamboo. Yeah, I'm done. Story 9. How big anglerfish can get. They're not massive but can definitely get larger than I'm comfortable with given the size of the teeth. Story 10. Hospital-acquired delirium is insanely common in hospitalized elderly patients. Ever been woken up in the middle of the night by a hospitalized loved one thinking they're at home, in a hotel, in a different hospital, rambling about shit that makes zero sense, and perhaps thinking it's a different year? I am every night. And I'm starting to lose my fucking mind. But you know what's fucking hilarious? My grandma at 96 handled 2 weeks in the hospital with no issue, whereas my 68-year-old father literally acts like a patient with dementia. Maybe he's developing dementia, I don't know. Again, I'm losing my fucking mind too. Even though the daughter of the crowned king, a literal princess, had tried to escape the country but was caught and brought back. I left the country the next week, couldn't stand the thought of it. Story 12. My mom lives far from me and we only get to see each other once a year. She's 65. Even if I'm lucky and she lives until 80 or so, I'm going to physically see her around 15 more times. The idea of it being so limited makes my stomach hurt. Story 13. Every hour, an average of 12 children go missing across India. Every day that average is 296 children missing across India. Story 14. There's a spooky skeleton inside you right now, and it's wet. Story 15. Most people on our teenagers aren't teenagers. Story 16. Absolute perfect health is merely the slowest rate at which you are dying. Story 17. The suicide rates of young women before and after the release of the first smartphones. Spoiler alert, it spiked and hasn't gone down since. Story 18. Just gotta spoiler this one out cause it's really bad. And GT. There are microscopic arachnids that almost exclusively grow on human faces called demodocs. They congregate around hair follicles, like eyelashes and nose, and also the cheeks and forehead for some reason. And LT and GT, almost every human has them and it's not possible to get rid of them all. And LT. Story 19. When I visited Sri Lanka, I was nearly perpetually asked by locals if I wanted to hire children for sex. One man tried to sell me his 5-year-old daughter. When I refused, he presumed I was gay, and offered a small boy instead, like WTF. Story 20. It's illegal in India to find out the gender of your baby, because so many prefer boys over girls. Story 21. That your organs know where they're supposed to be and move on their own. During surgery, doctors will just stuff them back in and they'll rearrange themselves back to their proper spot. Also the one about your main body's immune system not knowing your eyes are a thing, and if it learned about them, they would be considered foreign objects and be destroyed. Fucked me up pretty bad because I've always had eye problems since I was a kid. Sitting here going, is today the day I go blind? Story 22. That statistically 1 in 8 boys and 1 in 4 girls get sexually abused before the age of 16. In most cases it's done by a relation of theirs. Story 23. The youngest girl to get pregnant was 5 years old. There is a wiki page about it. Story 24. You can do everything right in life, making no mistakes along the way, and still fail to accomplish your lifelong dream. Story 25. How corrupt, fraudulent, and downright unethical a large chunk of people are who work in my profession. Story 26. That animals get abused by sadistic assholes every day and there's nothing I can do about it. And I don't just mean food industry horror. I also mean casual abuse of pets, abuse by sadistic people of strays for pleasure, out of boredom, neglect of pets, horses being starved to death, old animals being abandoned, etc. The animal rights laws are way too weak even in the strictest of countries in my opinion. I can't unknow it and I can't do anything about it, and if I think about too much I can't handle it. Story 27. My parents have sex toys. I am okay with it. It was just disturbing to discover. Story 28. If Yellowstone erupts, we're fucked. Story 29. Most women involuntarily shit themselves during childbirth. Story 30. Two penises can fit inside one anus at the same time. Story 31. That guinea worms exist. Warning, do not Google them. I swear you will regret it like I do. Story 32. Where do I start? Every day, approximately 25,000 people die from hunger or hunger-related causes. Over 70 million people are currently displaced from their homes due to conflict, persecution, or disaster. Human trafficking is a global problem, with millions of people being forced into various forms of exploitation, including labor, sex, and forced marriage. Climate change is causing irreversible damage to the planet, including rising sea levels, more frequent natural disasters, and extinction of plant and animal species. Mental health disorders are on the rise, with depression and anxiety being the leading causes of disability worldwide. In many countries, children are forced into labor or military service and denied access to education and basic health care. Women and girls are often subjected to gender-based violence, including sexual assault, domestic violence, and forced marriages. Income inequality is increasing, with the world's wealthiest individuals controlling a disproportionate amount of wealth and resources. Racism, discrimination, and prejudice continue to exist, leading to injustice and inequality in various forms. Many governments around the world are corrupt, with leaders abusing their power and suppressing dissent. Story 34. That people can wake up during operations but the docs don't notice. They feel everything pretty much and hear it but they can't react. I saw a woman who experienced it multiple times. Story 35. Husband stitch is often done without a consent or sometimes even without woman knowing she got it. Story 36. The astonishing number of times the same questions pop up over and over again on Reddit. Story 37. Zombie fires. They are basically peat fields near the Arctic where the permafrost has melted and have warmed up so quickly they started fires that refuse to die. Story 38. There are innocent people doing long stretches in prison because of their skin color. Story 39. Another Carrington event could wipe out our civilization by destroying all electronics, satellites, and knock out the power grid, which could destabilize nuclear plants all over the planet. Solar flares capable of causing a Carrington event happen regularly. We were lucky to dodge one in 2015, but we are currently approaching a maximum in solar activity sometime between now and 2026 and a low in the Earth's protective magnetic field. Story 41. That my wife was cheating. Story 42. There's something like 2% of American prairie left and it's still shrinking. A couple weeks ago O'Hare Airport was just given permission to expand over Illinois' best and nearly last prairie. Native prairie species sequester carbon far more efficiently than trees and support more biodiversity, not to mention their ability to stop erosion. Not only are we destroying prairie for human expansion, but we also went too far with planting trees and fire suppression, so areas that should be prairie and savanna are just planted with trees because we just assume that the more trees the better. Don't even get me started about people's wildflower gardens that help very few insects and animals as compared to actual native plants. Check out the Native Habitat Project https://www.nativehabitat.com for more information. Story 44. That horse legs are basically giant fingers. Story 45. Leopard seals are known to mess with penguins before killing them. For example, injuring them and letting them go before injuring them again. Then there are the penguins. A group of scientists on an expedition researched penguins, and because I am not reading that again, let's just say that the reason their reports are written in Latin makes the acts of the seals look like soup kitchens for the poor. Story 47. That there are people who have no empathy. Story 48. A colony of mites lives on your eyelashes. Story 49. Having never procreated, I've found out some very disturbing things about pregnancy lately, and I thank God I never subjected myself to that. Like, how did so much pregnancy horror fly under the radar? Story 50. Rabies. Just everything about rabies. Story 51. To grow up and learn the USA is a genocidal, imperialist, worldwide slave enthusiast run by conmen and psychopaths. Story 52. After any significant natural disaster or conflict starts up, human traffickers swarm to the country looking for unattended children. Law enforcement will start watching ports of entry for the usual suspects. The usual suspects. Story 53. American Indian women are raped and sexually assaulted at a rate 4 times the national average. They are also 10 times as likely to be murdered than other Americans. Story 54. That as a female, I turned a certain age and feel invisible. Story 55. Wow. My fact was going to be that bagged salads and other packaged foodstuffs are allowed to have a certain level of insect pieces in them. Reddit got me beat today.